So let's go to this speaker, Mustafa, which is a machine learning engineer at Swissquote. So he has experience at CERN and Volkswagen. And today we'll introduce the topic on generative AI in banking, which is a very, very challenging topic, especially from a high regulation point of view. So I don't want to add anything more than anything else. So please, Mustafa.
You already said the first slide, more or less. So
Bluetooth mid mode.
Thank you very much for having me, and yeah, thank you very much for coming. My name is Mustafa Khalil.
Bluetooth
I'm
mode.
a machine learning engineer in Swissquote Bank, based in Gland. Work in the quantitative research group. So yeah, I would like to handle those three main challenges. But just to give you a disclaimer, I'm not gonna do any like market research on you. I'm not gonna ask you any question or do anything like to enhance our product or ask you anything about it. And also, I'm not gonna be able to talk too much about the project that we are working on there. But I will try to show you some examples about how like each one of those angles could be approached from those from a project or similar project that could be implemented there. And yeah, so I will also try not to go too much inside the technical part. I understand that many of you here like the backgrounds could vary, so I will try to keep the balance between the technical and the theoretical part. And yeah, I'm gonna start with actually the compliance part in the banking area in Switzerland, which is regulated by FINMA. In 2024, I think it's in March, but the article is in July. FINMA issued a statement regarding the usage of generative AI tools. It mainly highlighted over the correctness and the validity of the data that generative AI model could generate, where, for example, those models at that time, in 2024, I think GPT-4o4 was like the strongest one. They used to be too confident sometimes into saying some outputs that could be easily wrong. They could hallucinate a lot. It's still a problem until now. So FINMA in this issuance tried to get to that. They said, like, for example, that at this point, generative AI was not only used for customer care, for searching inside the FAQ or answering like simple questions. It was already used for analyzing sentiments of some news and how it affects markets or prices analysis or stuff like that. So one of the challenges was actually really the accuracy of the output of the generative AI systems. But there's another one that is hidden, which is the data sovereignty, or the data that we own when we are using the generative AI models. So as you know, generative AI models, like the strong ones, they were mostly served by third parties that at some point they monopolized serving frontier models, still until now. Given how expensive it is to have a data center to serve those, most of the entities found that more like reliable not reliable, I would say, but easy to rely on their APIs and to use it to plug it into the applications. I guess many of you here also did such thing. Only the issue is with that, especially in banking area, doing such thing might risk leaking client data or client banking data into those providers. The data that is leaked there, it's going to go there in its plain format, in plain text. It's then going to be encrypted. There's like lots of research that is going on right now into encrypting the data that we send to a generative AI model and getting it in the encrypted way. So it's like still, how to say, not covered from man in the middle, but it's still a prototype in the research, still quite slow. So for this, the only thing that one could think of is having your own data centers, having your own GPUs, your own clusters where you run those you're on the open source, the open weights model, let's say, even not the open source. And here comes the first challenge, the price. GPU server with like H200, one of like the frontier ones from NVIDIA, costs around 40,000 francs. And if you order it now, good luck getting it in a year. Seriously, good luck getting it in a year. Even if you get it, that's the challenge of maintenance, the electricity, the power. That they have also like a lifespan. They might go out of, they might die. Like I hear like it's in the balance sheets of NVIDIA, I think they have 4 years, but from what I know, it's even less. So if you get one and you put it in production where like many users are hitting it at a time, you might still need to order the next patch way before. But this solves the issue of sharing your client data with the outside. It solves it. You keep an eye, you keep full control on this data, and you have it in your center. And beside that, it gives you a bit of like push ahead if you want to become part of the players of the game of developing those models, which yeah, is like the first thing. So the trust and the data sovereignty in banking, this is no question. So it's so the second part of the compliance that was also mentioned by FINMA there is the part of the fairness and the bias. And for this, I would probably show you a smaller application that we use something similar to Swissquote to help our HR, the recruiters, to go through like hundreds of CVs that they receive sometimes when they like run into some position. And yeah, like I think the idea is quite like simple for this for such an application. Basically, give a prompt to ChatGPT, put in it all the CVs of the people, and tell it, "Oh, find me the ones who are fit for this position." Yeah, it's wrong. It's not like that. It's this one is quite dangerous. It will put your put you at risk of bias, as those language models could really from empirical point of view, that from the experience that I did, they could really bias against certain groups, like people or based on name or based on stuff. So okay, I'm going to go into a bit of a technicality. Okay, so here we have like the people who applied. So for instance, someone when they apply, they basically just drop a CV, right? We need a flow that uses generative AI to transform the CV into like how to call it, structured format, where you would know from the CV where is the email, where is the readers of experience, where is the skills of the person, right? And the third step would be to evaluate each of those candidates against this criteria and give them a score for each one. And you'd see here that there are lots of challenges. This one is not restricted to banking. It could be in any business, like it's in ATS systems. So first, CVs. CVs to when you are receiving them, you are bounded by GDPR to not share them with third parties. Here we will need on-premise hosted models to do this job for us. But there's a question of economy here, that if you are receiving 500 CVs for a position and you open 500 positions per year, and imagine that every CV could contain up to 1,000 tokens, multiplying all those three together, they might add up to huge, like a big budget, not huge probably, but a big budget. So one of the tricks that we could do here, and what we do here, is instead of using a large language model to do the job, we use a small language model that is trained to do a simple task, distillation. I don't know if you heard this thing now. There's like Anthropic accusing DeepSeek of and Moonshot of distillation. The idea here is to let a big model, teacher model that is smart but expensive to run, teach a smaller one that is cheaper to run to do the task for us, which what we do here for the CVs. So the CV run into a small model, like 4 billion parameters, run not even could run on a gamer consumer hardware, and it would extract the information with good accuracy. Then the re-ranker is going to evaluate each of one of the CVs against the criteria of the job, and later give a score to them. The re-ranker or the evaluator should or must not see some of the information from the features that come from the CV to avoid the bias. So for example, it should not see the name, it should not see the gender, and there's even a layer that would try to redact any mention to anything that could refer to such features that might lead to bias. Again, this is like a full and deterministic flow. Stuff could go wrong. The probability, like many stuff that could not work. There's while loops. There are like agents that could do that, but we see that such kind of solution, although it's more complicated, but it's still compliant. It still respects the rights of the people who apply, and give them the respect, and still give fairness into evaluating and into searching for like the best person for like this position. Now, this problem could be generalized over other problems that require this kind of search, deep search into unstructured data. The same approach could be applied. From some experiments, it was applied in, I applied it in several use cases in the same way. You just need some twerking, of course, but yeah, it's again, the second part would be the accuracy. The accuracy where an indeterministic savant who's an LLM that talks a lot and can talk forever, what it could mess up in the output of your system. This is an example here of, I don't know if I can zoom this out, probably not, but this is an example of the chatbot of Klarna. They were like maybe the the very early adopters of using GPT 3.5, I remember at that time, into adopting them into a chatbot in their website. But they forgot to have good guardrails there, so you could make it run Python codes and do other stuff. There's the other story of the Canada Air, if I'm not mistaken, that made up a discount, for example. And when I was like searching for this, I found lots of funny stories. So yeah, accuracy. This is maybe one of the most challenging ones. How can we guarantee that our system is not producing rubbish? It's not like, and even if we guarantee 99% of accuracy, 1% is still too much. Still too much of a failure. Of course, there is no easy answer to that. I would just speak from my experience, the use cases I dealt with. There are lots of tricks that could be considered. So one of them is the structured output that you ask your LLM to produce. Here I'm going a little bit technical, sorry. So the structured output, it could be verified. It could be, we could verify the types. We could verify some values of it. It's a bit deterministic, and you could detect some stuff beforehand. The LLM-as-a-judge or large language models as a judge, where we let language models judge the output of another one. Probably all of you know about this, but there are specialized ones, especially from a lab called the PISPOC. They trained very nice language models from, I think, from Llama 7TV to judge on others or to do fact check. Of course, prompting is one of also the most effective tricks. What you prompt is quite important to know what's gonna be outputted. And extensive end-to-end testing. For example, in one of the upcoming examples I'm gonna show you, you basically put your system into a test that goes from the input until like sorry, from the two ends, from the user into the system and back, but with some mock data. So when you do the test, you could always test against by exact matching the output of the LLM every time you do the test on this mock data. Since it's mocked, it's static, it doesn't change. If you see that the results are changing, this is a sign for something. And others, I think there are like even faster ways to detect hallucination, detecting some type of tokens, or and of course using frontier LLMs still like could guarantee a higher level of accuracy. Not always, but yeah. Okay, then we go to the third pillar of what we're talking about is the usability. So, for example, I see this a lot, especially in the banking domain, that lots of like CTOs or something, they ask for like complicated features in the bank app that probably no one is gonna use. Like they have AI in them, but nobody's gonna use. Like you, for example, if you are gonna send money, would you prefer to do it by hand, to like enter the device yourself and select the one who received it, or to type like, I send the 500 to, I don't know, John Doe or someone. In terms of usability, some stuff, as it could seem very cool if you use generative AI for it, but it's still like more usable to keep it in the traditional way. And here we need to kind of know which really the features where LLM really serve as a good solution, as a good tool to use. So, for example, some features that involve searching in a huge domain, LLMs is quite good for it. There's features that involve extensive text data that is unstructured as well. Some features that also might do some human tasks, like evaluating sentiment or emotions. This is, I think, in investing, it could be important to detect sometimes, especially like in trends and on articles on Reddit or in X or other places. This could be automated quite well. It's one of the tasks that I feel that LLM is quite good at. And yeah, but for example, if I want to use it to execute orders or to send money, I will show you down in the example in a bit to show you like that it might seem cool, but it's not really usable. There's of course the thing of speed, where speed is where LLMs usually take a bit more time to execute. And if we have an agentic flow, usually like to run the whole nodes of every flow, it could take even longer. And some users are not patient enough to wait until like this is over. Not to mention the security part where the input of the user is an infinite space of language. Could be anything. And of course, you heard about the jailbreaking that could happen. So, even though that the LLMs have evolved a lot, it's still happening, it's still possible. Adding guardrails protects against like big part of it, but it could still fail at like significant. I wouldn't say it's significant, but still, even 1% is considered a failure if we're talking in a banking domain or other like highly sensitive domain. So yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go here to show you a little bit this like small demo about like the bank assistant. So yeah, let's imagine you have your bank, the mobile app of your bank has like a chat where you can chat with your data. For example, here is just a small preview. I don't know if you are able to see very well, but here's a small preview like of what you could have in your bank account. So like you could see your cards, the payment you did with your cards, your transfers, your investments, your profit and loss, like historical profit and loss every day, your investment orders, all these things. And like in such like a simple interface, you can do lots of operations. Actually, you could filter, you could like search for stuff, you could like export the data. You could see like lots of stuff. But if we like replace this with a chat, for example, instead, and imagine you don't have access to that interface, and you just like rely on the chat to ask it for the price of Apple, for example, or to ask it to block some card or to do something. Yeah, it could do the job, and it could do it quite well. Like it. Okay, those are mock data. Just it's not 197. It could do the job. It could. You could even like do some more complicated type of tasks. You could ask it to analyze your spendings on groceries alongside the year, or ask it to rate your portfolio, for example, or to optimize your budget or stuff like that. It could be quite useful, but it does not really replace the traditional interface that exists. And here I would also like to highlight on other things that when you develop such a type of features, you need to have a license that for giving a financial advice, or you should have good disclaimers and good guardrails to not let your AI start recommending cryptos and start recommending, I don't know, some other stuff, and then you are just charged with fines and stuff. So yeah, here I would say like guardrails are quite important, but when they are there, they would add another layer of latency, another layer of a negative impact on the usability of the application. And yeah, so just to sum up, here we have trade-offs when you develop such application or such feature in such environment. We have trade-offs between the compliance. When we want to be compliant, we need to spend more money on infrastructure. We need to guarantee that lots of rules are satisfied. We need to have good disclaimers to protect legally. When you have local infrastructure, it means that probably you don't have the best frontier models, which means your accuracy would go a little bit down. When the accuracy go a little bit down, the usability will also go down. So yeah, there's here the engineering part here, the machine learning engineering part here, which is not the same, but is to manage the trade-off between the three when we are developing an application. Yeah, it's very challenging. It's not that easy, but at the same time, it's very interesting, and it could bring lots of values, not only, I guess, in the banking domain, but in lots of other domains. So yeah, AI is not only to generate jokes or generate cats pictures or videos, although it's very fun. It could be very useful for other stuff. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and yeah, maybe to get your questions from here or online.
So if there's any questions, I'll pass the mic around. And for people that are online, feel free to just pop in your questions in the chat, and I will read them for the audience.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. My question is regarding investments. Do you happen to know AI tool that would be great to use if I type a prompt such as, what are the top 5 assets to invest in 2026? Because I tried ChatGPT and Gemini, but maybe you know of a better AI tool to use for investments.
Yeah, I personally don't know. I'm aware about an experiment that was done to try to test several LLMs in investing against each other, but in a highly stochastic environment like stocks and investment. I don't think LLMs are really that gonna be better than the existing algorithm that exists. So I would rather use tools that facilitate the tasks that come within investments, like for example, to help you search for something you look for, or help you do complicated queries, search easily for the ones that have earning date release tomorrow, for example. So you could take a decision now, or search inside the news about some instrument and tell you that later that okay, there are some negative news or positive news. I think for this the large language models are quite good. Me personally, I'm not aware of any tools. I don't use such tools. Yeah, I don't think it's that hard to use maybe ChatGPT or even Perplexity to like evaluate news, for example, and tell you based on the news of today, there's some like positive mentioning of blah blah blah, for example, and based on it you take your decision.
There's one question online from Mira. So how did you manage this trade-off? What was your methodology and what did you choose at the end?
This depends on the use case. Can talk? Yeah. This depends on the use case. In some use cases, when, for example, we are dealing with client data or with user data, yeah, for sure. We need to make sure that all the rules of the CID, like masking or not sharing the data, is fully complied with. Even though this would affect the accuracy. But for other use cases where, for example, user data are not involved, yeah, here in this case we could discover like going to third-party providers. We could discover like we could like how to say make the flow like shorter, so the feedback loop is like as well short, and like we are able to adapt. It really depends on the use case, but yeah, I think having user data is the first factor in the decision tree that I would look at before we go like into directions. Okay.
You mentioned mostly like user data. What about information that you might need in order to like orient the model, like business context or business rules? Yeah. How do you handle that on the kind of like technical lens, but also from the collaborative angle? Because I'm not sure in your case, but usually when you're in part of the engineering team, for example, you might not have all the business understanding that might be useful to actually create like a really good AI enabled product.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, very nice question. Actually, yeah, the business information, especially when they are sensitive information, or they involve like strategies, or they involve like I don't know, like secret plans of the company, they are treated the same way as we treat the client data. So yeah, basically they couldn't also go outside like a sovereign control. Now about using them for accuracy. So here we should do some kind of knowledge transfer, I would say, between the business experts and the machine learning engineers and the data scientists, to try to explain this domain as much as possible. And it's also one of the very like complicated tricks, because sometimes I don't know, sometimes it's not easy to explain everything in a statistic or mathematics, you know, and to put it in that way. Yeah, I would also consider it one of the challenges, of course.
During your presentation, you mentioned a few times the SML. We know a lot of the LLMs that are available on the market, but can you please name a few SLM, because I honestly don't know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so SLMs stands for, sometimes they stand for specialized language models or small language models. Basically, we have at the beginning of the hype of AI, we had Meta that released Llama, the Llama models family, and then we got Mistral, for example. They did the Mistral family of models, and others they were followed. Usually, they are models that they are up to 7 billion parameters. They are small. They could run in even in consumer hardware if they are provided with some conditions. Now, those models, they could be good for some use cases if they are used in standalone mode. But if we want to get a business value from them, what we can do is we train them, or we perform on them, like we train their parameters to only do this task by building a data set from a larger model and then applying some like reinforcement learning strategies. So in this case, we could get like the Llama from the provider, like Meta, which is like open weights. We can have them in our like machines or our like cluster, and then we get the data set, and then we run a pipeline of training So in the end, we wish that the result is a model that is able to do the task that a large language model can do, but it does it in a much cheaper way, and it runs fully in on-premise. Exactly. So for example, used for the CVs that I showed you, for example, what we did is that we made GPT-5 generate a data set of 40,000 CVs. It's too much, I know, but 40,000 CVs with like different variation and different things. And then we bring a model from Qwen family, so 4 billion parameters, and we run the same task on it. So now this model is very good at doing this task, and probably it lost other capacities on other ways, but we don't care about. We only care about this task. So now it's not able to do jokes, but it's able to do the CVs, which is what we need. Yeah.
Yeah, about this application, a couple of questions.
Yep.
How long it took you to develop the application? And the another question, more, I don't know, philosophical, is about the usability, because now you have these applications.
Yeah.
Me as a, let's say, a candidate to apply for a job at Swissquote, I would do my application based on the job description, also with an AI, because I will use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. So my CV will be perfect for this job description. You are checking your AI for this. So what is the value of this?
So the value here, thank you for your question. The value here is the time of the recruiters. So for example, the recruiters could, they need to run over maybe hundreds of CVs. They have to read them all. They have to decide which one to roll, which one to put. They could be a lot of them, and there's lots of factors when it comes to humans when they do such a type of search. So this application, it could help them to shortlist at least they could exclude, for example, the CVs that are not related to this position. So it would shortlist it to, for example, instead of reading 500 CVs, which of course lots of recruiters don't do. They read maybe the first 50 and then they throw the others in the bin, and that's unfair for the others. In this case, the LLM is able to, not the LLM, the agent is able to grab them for you, filter them for you, and then your job is much easier. Now you just need to read the best 50, for example, or best 20 that this application chose for you. So in this case, the benefit here is increasing the productivity of the recruiters. But at the same time, it does not affect the fairness, and it tries to minimize as much as possible the bias that might come from the application. Answer the question, or more or less? Okay.
No, okay. Actually, my question is, if already an AI is producing the CV, what is going to be the difference between an AI checking the CV?
Yeah, it reminds me of an article I saw, I think, in the Economist, AI is writing CVs, AI is checking, and nobody's getting hired. It's you're right. Sometimes if an AI, for example, would write for you a CV that has the same I don't know, keywords or stuff. Yeah, it could pass maybe through some ATSs, or some keyword matching systems. But probably for something that is searching semantically, by meaning, for example, if I'm looking for someone who know some skill, who know how to, I don't know, some accounting skills, for example, I don't think keywords is really going to capture that, but something maybe more meaningful. Again, it's I understand your question. You could there are applications that you could use to write your CV, and another AI would evaluate it.
Your question is about the threshold that your system triggers. Sorry, I'll put the mic. What's the question? I'll ask the question. Coming from the last question.
Yeah.
What is the threshold? Let's say I have a perfect CV. Your system filters out all the keywords, so basically extracts all the tokens, do the lemmatization.
Yeah.
I have a specific match system.
Yeah.
So let's say I have more than 90% accuracy. What is the threshold that you have to trigger a recommendation that my CV is shortlisted? That's the real question.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, there's okay. That's okay. Maybe it's better if I show it live in this case. So in this thing, like all the CVs are gonna run into this like evaluation, let's say, and every CV is gonna be assigned a score in this case, and the score would be related to, for example, the must-have criteria that you satisfy. So, for example, like some of the criteria, like this one, it's satisfied, like here as it's shown, and with the justification, of course. And there is, for example, the nice-to-have criteria, for example. And each of them could be evaluated. I don't know if you can see it correct from here, but like each of them is evaluated, and then later a score is assigned based on that. Like you satisfy 6 of 9 of them must have, you don't satisfy the nice to have. And then based on that, every candidate is given a score that you later, you, the recruiter, it's up to you to decide at which like extent I should take the. But of course, you should have as a recruiter as well more control. So, for example, you could have here a filter that you'd like say from your criteria that I want only the people who know, like who have a bachelor and they know, like for example, they have a very good English language. And in this case, you could filter again, and you could see. So here, the AI is not taking a decision. The human is taking the decision, and this is one of the things I would really love to point out, that human in the loop is quite important when in those applications. So yeah, the score doesn't mean that this person is maybe the best, but based on the CV, it's the one that satisfies the highest criteria. But it's up to you to set the threshold. You want to take the highest 50, like the one more than 50. You want to take the top 10. It's to answer the question more or less, or more or less. Okay.
Hello. I built several APP for financial analysis, market, and stock picking or asset allocation. So I'm very happy to learn that you leverage very much in structured data. This is all I do, because this is reproducible, auditable. So it makes the case very strong. But myself, I also leverage on other API, because my output is our APIs. My question is, because I saw that accuracy and then FINMA restriction. So in terms of market, for me, what do you think is important, and how I should sell my APIs?
Well, I think for this question, you need someone who is more into the like how to call it, the consultants like part. I mean, it's a bit of how to say, wide area. So like, I'm not sure if I can like give an advice or not, but for example, if I want to consume an API, I think it will apply the same criteria we apply on other APIs, that like the contract, for example, to be clean, to I don't think like I have more to add to that, like from a machine learning point of view, but maybe from software engineering point of view, yes, I would maybe just consider the contract to be like clear, to be well described. So if in case we want to use it as a tool for an agent or an MCP, for example, it would be quite helpful.
Okay. I want to come back to the SLM example with the CV. If you train a model specialized on 500,000 CV, but because of GDPR, if someone asks you to remove its data and you used it to train the model, so do you have to retrain the model without this data and delete the model you trained, which is kind of, or do you use only mocked data to train the model, but maybe the performance is not as good with a real CV? So what do you think about this?
Like from the point of view of distilling a bigger model, we know that a bigger model, when we ask it to generate a CV for us, it will generate it from what it learned, which we think it's gonna be. It was like CVs of real people. So in this case, it's the problem of OpenAI or the problem of Anthropic, not us, like in that sense. So basically, we're asking like ChatGPT, I want you to generate like 1,000 CV, or generate a CV, but I ask it 1,000 times, and then I collect this data set. in this case, like from legal point of view, I don't see that we are like breaching CVs of real people. It's like CVs that were generated by a large language model. So I don't see a problem from that side. But if the model was trained on CVs of real people, for example, and yeah, those people, like for example, when they were not aware of that, they were not let know that their CVs would be used for that. Yeah, and in this case, to be compliant fully, yeah, it should be retrained or it should be fully removed. This is not only for the privacy also point of view, but also from the security point of view. You know, like if your data is used to train a language model on it, and this language model was used somewhere else, other could see this data, or if they prompted well, they could see this data. So.
I'm curious about using Agent AI in DevOps operation in highly regulated environment.
Yeah, so very interesting. So in DevOps, which means that like the way how we deploy the application of like the user applications and how to send them to production. Yeah, we know that a few cases where Agentic AI was used, and it was to automate certain tasks that could be automated. There's the trade-off here is mostly with the risk that could come from it. The risk here is if the agent is given more permission that it should have, it might destroy the pipeline. It might deploy different like I don't know, versions. It could delete your code. You know, it might find it like easier to delete the whole code and put it. There are risks here, of course, that needs to be considered. So when we design such a workflow, those risks should be taken into consideration. And we start basically with the BART, or with the process that is the easiest to be automated, the easiest to be taught. Let's get to the agent, but with the least risk. And
do you have a defined policy for this use?
Defined policy? Well, yeah, like since it's a regularized area, yes, there are like some steps, of course, that needs to be validated by a human, like. By someone and basically signed. Yeah.
I think one important part of the recruitment is the compatibility with the current team. I wonder, or I'm curious, if you have any fields that is a bit more kind of like qualitative, that has to do with kind of like team expectations or cultural alignment.
Yeah, that one actually. It's actually one of the colleagues who like came to ask us about, and ask us to have a chatbot basically to talk to the CVs that you have, and start like asking them. I want the people who have what we call ENTP personality. Like, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, ENTP, something like that, and. I think it's somewhere probably it produced probably a funny answer, or like, yeah, this one, yeah. So like, oh, the candidate has a good ENPT personality, and in fact, actually, it like I think it did like a good job here. Like, a candidate has a strong. So yeah, basically, this kind of feature kind of exists here, more or less. You know, to say like, oh, our team, for example, is. Like, I don't know, like outgoing, they like to do events outside or something. Find me the one who like could do this, you know, like, and yeah, this kind of like semantic search that exists that like could be useful, but it's not like, since it's not the main business value that we have here. We don't focus on it. We focus on the main business value, like features, like the one that. To find really skills, for example. So like when we fine-tune SLM for it, we don't consider that. We consider the skills, we consider the experience, the years, the stuff like that. Yeah, we like this one, we don't consider it, but instead we use a large language model, for example, to do such thing. Welcome.
Right, thank you, Mustafa. You showed a lot, or you talked a lot about some of the areas where using GenAI is not so useful or not so appropriate. So look, all the things that it's not really so good for. In the things that were good. We've looked at CVs, which is kind of like that applies to all sort of industries. We looked at the chat with your data banking thing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the other use cases? What are some of the other use cases, particularly in banking wise, where you're finding GenAI really useful or delivering a lot of value and really making a difference? Now, perhaps you can't say too much about Swissquote. So maybe if you can't say about Swissquote, perhaps what are some of the other banks or people that you admire doing?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the disclaimer. I said it before, but yeah, usually I would say that when something could be solved with more deterministic way, like an SH script or a SQL script or a Python program, I would go for that. I would not go for to use always an LLM. I maybe I should have added more memes here, because I saw like people who call ChatGPT to sort an array, for example. Yeah, it's so yeah, I would evaluate that by how automatable the task is using a normal state machine, which means that it could be translated well into normal programming language instead. Examples of that, like, I don't know, in the top of my head, I don't remember on top of my head. Well, I need to remember. Maybe I'll come back to you later if discuss it. But there are many. There are many.
I have a question about the tool that you showed us for the end user.
Yep.
How they can go and browse through their account information. Yep. So how do you ensure there that the tool is not hallucinating?
Yep.
That it does not give them any answers which are anti-regulatory, or that the accuracy of the answers remains whatever is your threshold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for this tool, for example, actually, nice question. Thank you very much for the question. For this tool, for example, the agent, when it analyzes such a request from the user, it needs to analyze first the user intent. It needs to kind of compile a plan to say, like, okay, the user needs this information. To bring you this information, I need to do step 1, step 2, step 3. When we deal with data, especially numerical data, which is an area that large language models are not very good at for like a long time, usually we try not to feed the data directly to the language model, but to tell the language model about the structure of this data. So, for example, we tell it that the data is stored in a small SQL table, and the job of the language model is instead to compile a SQL query to run on this table, and then to give the result to the user. Now, why is this like a good use case to do it like that? Because SQL queries could be verified. We could know from the SQL query what are the source of the data that is being used to fetch the user questions. It could be validated against errors, and we could know, for example, and we can restrict that it will only read data, it will not write to the data, you know. And most of the time, it will bring actually like it answers like very complicated questions, you know, like. And probably if we do it in an example, like analyze my payments per month, for example, or the sum of my payments per month. Okay, I hope I don't run into some demo effect per month. Probably we can see something here that could show how it works, or a demo effect, one of them. Yeah, here it would transform this kind of query into an SQL query. I don't know if you can see it very well, but this kind of query is easier to validate and easier to see if it satisfies what the user really is looking for, more than just give the large language model all the user data and ask it, oh, find there, or do the calculation there. Yeah, that will mean like 50%, maybe more, lead to hallucination and wrong data. While, for example, here it will be a little bit better, because we can verify, for example, that the result of the query here, they were like basically calculated and they were shown, and hence we increase the accuracy. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, there was one question.
Sorry.
So my questions about I have two questions actually. One of them is like when you generate a population of CVs, did you check the distribution? Like what is LLM is biased? Maybe it's mostly Americans, or yeah. And then the other one is like when you fine tune SLMs, do you do like continuing pre-training or like something like a parameter efficient fine tuning, like LoRa adapters? Like what do you find useful?
Thank you very much for the question. Yeah, for the data set. Yeah, for the data set buildings, yeah, exactly. Those aspects need to be considered. We need to consider that some sections of the CVs, for example, might be absent. We need to consider that, for example, if we have 40,000 CVs, for example, each 10% of them from like one area, and each area, for example, has different terminology, has not to mention also the language, the CVs could be written in multiple languages. The family or the generation of the CVs, this needs to be considered when the generation is happening to have a balance between them, because otherwise, yeah, the model will overfit to a certain class rather than the other. So yeah, this one is taken into consideration. Even you should take into consideration CVs where people basically input LLM instructions inside of them, which is now quite common. That's also need to be considered into taken into consideration. Now. Sorry? For example, it could be 10%, for example, are data scientists, 10% are accountants, 10% are lawyers, 10% are something like basically, yeah. Or for example, when you generate it, you have a script to generate those CVs, and you run okay, now I will generate the lawyers we should have a hierarchy basically for it, and each granularity we need to specify. Like for example, for the lawyers, we need also the same, like 10% for inheritance lawyers, 10% for tech lawyers, and the same for others. Yeah, you need to guarantee a nice distribution of or uniformized distribution as much as possible. Now about the training methodology. So me personally, I'm using a new paper. It's called DoRA. DoRA, it's decomposed low rank adapters paper. I think not even that new actually. It's I think from 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And in general, like with some hyperparameters, fine tuning and playing a little bit with it, some experiments. Yeah, I'll be satisfied with the results most of the time.
Before to proceed, just the last couple of questions, then you can ask later on the networking. So don't worry, it will not go away.
I'm trapped here, yes.
But just the last two questions, and then we proceed for the network.
Yeah, thank you. Two questions. As I understand, you have trained your own model.
Yep.
What is it based on? Which model is it based on? This is the first question, and the second is about the agents. What kind of agentic structure are you using behind?
So for thank you for the models. Well, I tried sometimes with the one that come from Qwen, the Qwen 3 family. I find them the ones that they were most easy, the easiest to learn something, or they learn the fastest, and I don't need lots of epochs to get the size. I did the 0.6p for some tasks, some personal identifiable information masking. The 1.7p, for example, I use it for a search task. So it could receive a number of documents, like big documents, and the search for pieces in each one. So kind of like a RAG thing. And the 4b for a bit more complicated things like CV extraction, or for SQL queries composition. Some of them, they don't have a very good accuracy. Right now, I'm also a little bit playing with the thinking ones as well. 1.7p is thinking. They have also another methodology to train in those ones. And in general, the cost of training, I think, on Rambot, for example, it could go to $100 for some of the tasks. So I think for the benefit that it is, I think it's quite good.
The agentic structure?
The agentic structure. So depend, but I mostly like the Reason Act one. The Reason Act one, where there's like a criteria to satisfy and to reason about it, do actions, and update the plan. It's my preferred one, but it also depends on the cases. As some cases they don't, it could be overkill for them, for example.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You mentioned that generating those CVs using the large language model and then training the small language model on them. So this is more like supervised learning than reinforcement learning. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, it was SFT. Yeah, supervised fine-tuning. We use like a direct policy optimization. Because we're using the big models, so they don't provide us the distribution of the tokens in the end. So we cannot do like more complicated types of training. So yeah, it could be SFT. But for some tasks like the SQL, for example, SQL training, we use GRPO, so group relative policy optimization, where the reward function is a bit more customized into the result of the execution of the SQL query.
All right, maybe time for one last question, if there's any. All good? One more?
Do you use OpenClaw?
No.
The question was, do you use OpenClaw?
Why? Yeah, I'd like. I don't know. It's okay. Whatever I want to say, it's gonna be very not nice to OpenClaw. So probably I'm not gonna say it. No, I don't know. I think it's. I don't see the value behind it, to be honest. And it has lots of security issues and yeah, like gaps.
What is your internal process in the company on staying on top of the updates or regulations from FINMA or anyone else?
Like any bank, it's very strict and very heavy. There's audition, like very frequent audition, and yeah, need to be compliant all the time.
All right, we'll end the session here. So
thank you
so
very much,
Mustafa.